Intel and AMD, two CPU giants. Today I'll help you decide which CPU you should go with when you're building a PC. First, let's compare their prices. For a long time, AMD has been cheaper than Intel, but Intel has always defeated them. First, we'll look at the AMD Ryzen 3, which is comparable to the Intel Core i3. The Ryzen 3 ranges from $95 to $120, while the Intel Core i3 ranges from $78 to $170. Let's look at this graph right here. The green line goes from 0 to the low price, while the blue line goes from the low price to the high price. So the blue line is the range. So as you can see, for the Ryzen 3 and Intel Core i3, Intel's cheaper. For Ryzen 5, Intel Core i5, Intel is still cheaper. But for Ryzen 7, Intel Core i7, the tide changes and AMD is cheaper. And for the Ryzen 9 and Intel Core i9, AMD is still cheaper. And for the Threadripper and Cascade Lake X, you can call Intel cheaper because of the gigantic range for AMD. So the tide goes from side to side. So the prices is not such a big thing. Unless you want to go with something like a Ryzen 3, which is not very good, the Intel would be cheaper, so you would want to go with them. But for Ryzen 5 Intel Core i5, if you want one of those, if you want to go with Intel. But then if you want Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 9, you need to go with AMD. If you want the Threadripper or Cascade Lake X, I would say Intel's better. Let's look into the cache levels for all of these different PCs by Intel and AMD. And the higher amount of bit the cache is, the more faster the computer will be. And if you're in terms of gaming, that is really important. All of these computers that we're going to look into are level 3 or L3. So let's begin. So for 64-bit, we have all Ryzen 9s, and the types of Ryzen 9s is 5950X, 3950X, 5900X, 3900 XT, and 3900X. Then let's look into the ones that are 32-bit. We have all Ryzen 7s. Ryzen 7 3700X, 3800X, 3800 XT, and 5800X. Next is the 20-bit ones. And here we have Core i9s for all of them. I believe so. We have the Core i9 10900K/KF, the 10850K, the 10900F, and those are all the 16-bit ones, and I mean the 20-bit ones. The 16-bit ones are the Core i7 with 10700K/KF. And in speed, you can see that the Ryzen or AMD thing is AMD is much faster, which makes sense because Ryzen, which is a branch of AMD, Ryzen is gaming computers, which is really important. Intel can be used for gaming, but it's like an everyday use thing for laptops, office desks, and all of that. So it kind of makes sense that Ryzen is faster. But what if you want to use Intel for gaming? This is going to bring up a problem for Intel. It's not as fast. The highest Intel thing that we saw right now is 20 bits, while the highest Ryzen is 64-bit. So that is a big difference. The last thing we're going to explore into for AMD and Intel today is going to be their memory. These first 5 are going to be all Ryzen 9s, different models, but they have the same memory. So all the Ryzen 9s that we have in our sample here are dual DDR4 3200s. And then we're going to go into the Intel Core i9. And all Intel Core i9s are dual DDR4 2933. Then let's go into i7s. So we have two different, so we have i7s. And i7s are also dual DDR4 2933. Then we have Ryzen 7s, which are dual DDR4 3200. So those are the memories. Now that I've went over all of this, which one do I think is better, Intel or AMD? Which one should you build your PC with? Well, it's your choice. You can choose which one you think will be best for you. What's your use? Gaming, working, office? Choose the one that will be best on you based on what you're going to do with it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Subscribe to the fun stuff, and thanks for watching.